Okay, well, now let me introduce our very first guest on the show. We have Mrin Agarwal of FinSave joining us now on the show. Hi, Mrin. Good evening. Thanks so much for taking out time. We had Ms. Mehra talking about how fixed income is an important part of your portfolio. But today, if you look at fixed income, it's very difficult to generate good returns, especially when you compare it with equities. You will wonder, why are you even investing in fixed income in the first place? So let's talk about two things. Firstly, why fixed income is an important part of a retail investor's portfolio, and secondly, what's the best strategy to deploy when you are in a continuing low interest rate environment?
Hi Mubina, nice to be here today as always. First off, yes, I certainly believe that fixed income is an important part of an investor's portfolio. And I think most investors don't realize it, because they're so taken by the equity bug right now. But, in a way, investors do have debt in their portfolio, whether it is through the Employee Provident Fund or PPF. I would also say to some extent, the insurance policies function like debt funds because they kind of give very low returns, right? So I would not equate them to equity investments. So, to that extent, investors always have fixed income in their portfolio. And it is important to have fixed income in the portfolio really to balance out your risk more than anything else, because you cannot have 100% of your money just put into a risky asset. So that's the need for having fixed income in your portfolio. Yes, returns unfortunately are not looking very good right now because we at the bottom of the cycle, and now the interest rates look to be moving up. So, unfortunately, we're in this phase right now where the returns are going to be quite subdued at this point in time.
All right, let's explore some of the components then available. We have a lot of NCDs or corporate deposits that are available out there, which actually give a great rate of return, 9%, sometimes as high as 10 and 11% as well. So those are corporate deposits. So you'll have, HDFC Limited or some of these NBFCs telling the public that, look, you can put in your money. Of course, you need to have a good amount of money. It should be at least 5 lakhs or 7 lakhs and above, and we'll give you that 9-10% return. Or then you have corporate bond funds, which again function similarly, except that it's pooling enough money, and then that pooling enough money is put into different corporate bonds, which is again managed by a fund manager. What's your take on this, Mrin? Do you think that we could see better returns, good returns if somebody wants to earn that extra alpha, if you could call it that? Do you think we could get that from this category of securities and funds?
Well, yes, you do have many corporate deposits, and you also have non-convertible debentures which are available, which are returning around 9.5 to 10.5%. But I don't recommend these investments, because what happens is that an investor who's investing in this is going to put a significant amount of capital at risk. Now, remember, the bank fixed deposit, a 1-year bank deposit is giving you around 6%. And then you have NCDs which are giving you around 9.5 to 10%, which is significantly higher. So that means that the risk is also more. And in case of a default, the investor would lose his entire capital. And hence, I think a better way to take exposure into corporate bonds would be through debt funds. Of course, you have the corporate bond category, which invests more than 80% in AAA rated bonds. And it is a good way to take exposure. But remember again, that the typical return that you can expect on a 3 to 4 year basis from a corporate bond fund or a short duration debt fund currently is in the range of about 5 to 6% post-tax.
I'm glad you mentioned post-tax, because when it comes to fixed income, that's another very important component, but we'll discuss that in just a bit. First, I just want to get in a holistic picture of the fixed income instruments available out there. And, yes, we often say that, okay, yeah, they are, they have very less risk, etc., but there is still a certain segment of riskiness attached to them. Speaking of riskiness, interestingly, Min, if I just look at this year, how debt funds have done, it's not been a very pretty picture. But the last couple of weeks, we've seen a good recovery, but moreover in two kind of funds, floating rate funds and credit risk funds. So let's talk first about credit risk funds, since we were talking about corporate bonds and what happens if that entity defaults, as we have seen in DHFL, in IL&FS. So what do you think is making credit risk funds seem attractive right now?
I think in some of the credit risk funds, some of the bonds that had defaulted earlier, which were basically some of the bonds that had defaulted earlier basically have paid back. So, you're seeing that jump in the NAV in few funds. There's been quite a bit of a jump, and that jump is mainly because of, some of the segregated portfolios basically getting back the money from the issuer, basically, right? Now, as such, if you look at the credit risk category, the credit risk fund invests more than 65% in bonds that are rated AA and below, which means that these are high risk bonds since they are lowly rated companies. It means that they're willing to give a higher amount of interest in order to get the capital. So these are clearly meant for investors who can hold for 5 years, aggressive investors who are willing to take this risk, because of course, as we've seen in the past, that there have been some defaults over the last 1 or 2 years in this particular category. So of course, investors need to understand that, such incidents could easily happen again. And there is a limit up to which, the risk can be protected out here. So clearly, you can look at it, but you should be aware of the risks. And it is really meant for aggressive investors. It is certainly not meant if you want to get a regular income out of it.
And what's the fundamentals around floating rate funds? Relatively they are a bit of a newer category, and what's interesting is that you're seeing a lot of NFOs as well come around in this particular category. What's your take? What's your reading about this category of funds?
Well, the NFOs could be because, the floating rate fund, the way it works is that it's buying floating rate bonds. Now, in a floating rate bond, what happens is that there is a benchmark. It could be the 3-month treasury bill, for example, and the bond is benchmarked against it. So if that benchmark moves up, then the interest rate on the bond also moves up accordingly, right? So what happens is that the biggest issue in investing in any fixed income security is that you're holding it at a particular rate and then the rates are moving up. Here, the upside is basically getting captured. So given that we are in a rising interest rate scenario, there is preference from investors for floating rate securities, and hence these funds are becoming more popular. They're also, the modified duration in these funds is quite short. It's roughly between, I think, about 1 year or so. So that's what is really attracting investors to this particular category. But I think what you need to keep in mind is that the liquidity in this category is very limited. So to that extent, I would say that you could allocate some capital, but do not allocate too much of capital to this particular category.
Simran, how is the environment looking for the entire fixed income category? And the reason why I ask you this is because today, lots of senior citizens, lots of those individuals who cannot afford to take a lot of risk with their money depend only on all of these FDs, sometimes debt funds, or even the government saving schemes, which do tend to offer a good rate of return. According to you, looking at the interest rate environment, what's the prognosis? Could we see better returns going forward?
I think, we are certainly in for a period where the rates might be moving in a very small range. Certainly, when you look at the bond markets, the rates are looking as moving upwards. And in that scenario, I think it makes a lot of sense to be in a low duration fund or an ultra short duration fund for the time being, till the time the interest rates actually move up. And as far as those people are concerned who are interested in fixed returns, so like regular returns is what they want. As you mentioned, the government schemes are there. I think the RBI bonds, of course, these bonds are taxable, are also an option that can be looked at for regular income.
All right. Now, how important, before I get to the tax question, actually I have one more question. So, for a risk-averse investor, for senior citizens, do you think then that it's necessary for them to perhaps add some more asset classes in their portfolio?
Well, while I would answer would be yes, as from a purely financial perspective, but for a senior citizen who's fairly conservative, they may not be willing to really do it. So, at best, I would say maybe they could look at a balanced advantage sort of a fund. I think that should help them. But remember, again, that's not going to give them regular income, so they need to keep that in mind.
All right. Now, tax. I meant in one of your answers, you said post-tax return, and that's extremely important because when tax comes in, the picture really changes quite a bit. Today, a bank will come and tell you, "Oh, look, I'm offering you 7% return for 1 year," which sounds great in today's environment. How does tax change the picture, and how important, especially for the 20-30% tax bracket individuals, is tax as a component when they're considering the different fixed income instruments available?
Well, yeah, you said it rightly. Most people only look at pre-tax returns, and what they actually need to look at is post-tax returns, because that's what you're actually going to get. So certainly for someone in higher tax brackets, it's very important to consider post-tax returns. Fixed deposits are fully taxable. Corporate fixed deposits, again, fully taxable. Unlisted bonds, so if the bonds are not listed, again, they're fully taxable. Whereas in debt funds, you do have capital gains available above 3 years. So certainly tax is a very important component of any investment, and more so in case of fixed income.
Today, Mrin, do you think that a fixed income instrument can help beat inflation, protect the purchasing power of money, especially as every time we go to fuel up, we end up paying 4,000 rupees just to get a full tank of, petrol or diesel, and it barely lasts us 2 weeks. So considering the ever rising expenses, do you think that, a fixed income alone can help beat inflation?
No, it can't. It certainly can't, because you're seeing inflation in the range of 5 to 6%, and that's the returns that you're seeing as well post-tax. So it can't.
Okay, so it's important then that you have a good asset allocation strategy, consider other investments. We are unfortunately in a low interest rate environment coupled with high expenses. Okay, let's take on board some questions and queries then. Remember, folks, you can connect with us on our email address, themoneyshow@etnow.tv. Our first question is coming in from Ali Inamdar. He says, I have the following portfolio: 7 lakh rupees in some equity mutual funds, 10 lakh rupees in fixed deposits and PPF together, 4.5 lakh rupees in gold, and 8 lakhs in individual shares. Now I need 7 lakh rupees over the next 4 to 5 months. How do you recommend I liquidate my above investments? Okay, so he hasn't mentioned which mutual funds, which shares, because that would have perhaps given a better idea. But if we have to just look at it from an asset perspective, he's got equity. He's got his equity is almost 15 lakhs. Then he's got 10 lakhs in fixed income, and then 4.5 lakhs in gold. And he wants to liquidate a little bit of money from this figure. So what do you recommend? How do you recommend he go about managing it?
Well, fixed deposits are the most liquid, so the easiest to basically liquidate. I would say that as far as shares are concerned, if he's invested over the last 1 year and he's made some fantabulous returns on it, it's not a bad idea to actually book profits and exit those particular share positions as well. I would not really touch the PPF or, even the mutual funds. And of course, gold typically is a very emotional investment. I don't see too many people wanting to sell gold, but in my list, in my order, it would be number 3 after fixed deposits and shares. I would say gold. So in that order, he can decide, what assets he wants to liquidate. But as such, I would say that if he's made good returns on the equities, it's a good idea to look at liquidating and taking some profits out there.
Well, yeah, the way equity markets have rallied, I think that could as well be a good potential candidate to consider liquidating. Okay, let's take on board our next question. Charmin Bharucha writes saying, I have 4 lakhs in SIP done as follows. Franklin India large cap, Mirae emerging, HDFC mid cap. Apart from this, I also have a PPF and fixed deposits of 15 lakh rupees. Now I have 6 lakhs in savings account, but I am leaving my job. In your view, how can I manage my money from now? So the fact that she's not going to have a regular stream of income means that she needs to be a little more frugal, a little more prudent when it comes to money. What do you think, should an individual like Charmaine do right now then?
Well, if she needs regular income to support herself, maybe if she's solely responsible for it, then certainly this money will have to be put into an instrument that's going to generate a regular income. So maybe like a post office MIS or even the RBI bond, as I mentioned, could be an option. But if she doesn't need the regular income, it'll really actually have to be tied in with, what is the financial goal that she has for this particular investment and how long that goal really is.
Okay, let's take on board our next question. Sanjay asks, how do I invest my money which I have received from the sale proceeds of my flat? So we don't know what his time horizon is, but I'll take the assumption that he has a very long-term time horizon. He does not need the money right now. So Mrin, we are talking at a time, and I think this could be a good starting point for a lot of our viewers watching right now, not just Sanjaya, that you're looking at a time when, fixed income returns are very so-so, and then you have equities which are at record high levels. Whether you look at large caps, mid caps, small caps, they're all doing extremely well. So you may think, what's the point of starting an SIP right now? I'll be picking up units at very high costs. So individuals like Sanjaya, and by the way, Sanjaya has got a lump sum money. So an SIP will as well be very slow. How do you recommend he start off?
So there are two options. One, if he wants to save on the capital gains tax on the old property, he can buy a new property within 2 years. But the main thing is, if he's intending to do that, then he needs to move the capital gains amount into the SBI capital gains scheme, right? And all further payments for the new property needs to go only from that particular account, right? Now, if he doesn't intend to buy a property and he wants to invest in financial markets, then the first thing, of course, he needs to do is figure out what are his financial goals. So if his financial goals are sort of medium term in nature, let's say 3 to 5 years, then he looks at debt funds. Certainly, if they are longer term, which is 7 years, 10 years, then he basically looks at equity funds. And essentially, again, as far as equity funds are concerned, he would need to look at staggering out his investment rather than going in for a full lump sum right now. He could look at staggering it out and again, diversify within the asset class. So, don't just go in for mid caps because mid caps are doing well right now. Look at a combination of an index fund, a mid cap fund, and a flexi cap fund together. So diversify among asset classes, and within the asset classes also, you need to have some bit of diversification.